welcome to episode 123 of the Stag. It's COVID-19 lockdown day 2. Hope you're doing well out there. Crazy times, weird times. Don't look too far into the internet. There's some buzzy stuff out there. I don't know how much of it's true. Hopefully some of it's not true. Gosh, chaos. But at the same time, you could also imagine it is true, which is interesting. Thankfully, in this country, things seem to be going smoothly. Hope you're all being smart, looking out for each other. There's been a lot of fun on Instagram. I've been up to antics. Thankfully, I've got 650 hectares to isolate in, and it's a lot easier than some of you people on a quarter acre. But yeah, I'll live vicariously for you, through you. I don't know what that is. Anyway, this episode I talk with Alex Waller. He is an absolute champ. Trippin on Trout is his handle. He's a good bugger. Fishing guide out there in the Taupo region, backcountry fishing. We talk about personal training, mindset, mental health, just general yarns. It's good times. So yeah, this might fill an hour or two for you. Glad I can help, and enjoy.
Sounds good, bro.
Kia ora, everyone. Lockdown day 2. So I'm going to have a few podcasts over the time. I'm just going to straight up record and release, which fits in quite well because I'm talking with Alex Waller, who does a bit of catch and release. I'm the worst fisherman, / I haven't really done much of it, mate. But as it's only lockdown day 2, what did you do last weekend, the one just been?
Last weekend, one just been, I went fishing, funnily enough. Actually, so anyone that kind of fishes and knows what I do will probably know that I fish either by myself or I fish with my buddy Gareth. So I actually went out with him and we went back to a stream we haven't been to for like 6 or 7 years, and I went to do a bit of exploration in there, and we had a good day. And actually turned out it'll probably be the last time we fished together for a little bit, eh? Yeah. It's funny how things work out in a week.
So, mate, I came across you via Pete Evans when I interviewed him a year and
we fished together.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Right. So it was right around when my daughter was born, and I talked to Pete and let him go. He was an amazing guest, and he'd been ocean fly fishing with you around Rangitoto, I think, and also in the lakes around Taupo. How did you meet? He
fished up. I think he fished up Waiheke Way with my buddy Matt, and he was down in Taupo for a couple of days on his way to or back from one of his TV gigs or something. I don't know. He was doing a show or something, I think, and he had a couple of days. So he hit me up and we went and fished around in the local rivers. Yeah, it was good fun. He's a good dude, eh?
Oh, he's amazing. He's just I especially like how Pete handles the slander that for some reason he gets. Oh, I suppose he's outspoken, but
he just cop a lot of shit.
It's just like everybody chill out.
This is what I do. This is to make your own mind up. Pretty much. He doesn't shove it down your throat, and he just kind of gets on with it, and it's good. Anyway, we got on real well. We had a good time. We had a good laugh. Caught some fish and talked some shit. Had some laughs. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, man. So as I said, my fishing experience is getting lines tangled and caught in willow trees on Lake Wanaka when it was a free license when you're under a certain age. What do you think is the most crucial thing for someone trying to get into fly fishing? Because I've got uncles and cousins that do it, and I love watching it. NZ Hunter guys taking their rods into the backcountry. It's like, oh. And actually, when we were walking the Makino at New Year's, we did see a big brown in the Makino. We're like, wish I had some skills.
Wish I knew how to catch that.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest thing, I'm quite a type A personality anyway, but I think if you're going to get into something, I think you need to try and make your learning curve at the beginning as steep as possible.
Yeah.
So if you can kind of obviously get some gear or borrow some gear, and then if you've got somebody that knows something, I guess the ropes, if they can show you the ropes and just kind of get you in the right space, and then just basically, I'd say, give it as much time as you can. I mean, you can watch videos these days on YouTube. Like when I learned as a kid, there wasn't even internet, so I was just me and my granddad in the back garden, just flapping around, not knowing what we were doing. And it's not the ideal way to do it for sure. But you've got videos, you've got articles, you've got people you can ask, and then just get out there on the water and give it time. Because there's a big period at the beginning there where you'll probably do a lot of time on the water and not much catching. And if you can kind of push through that to the point where you start working out what it is you're actually supposed to be doing and how to get your head around it, then, that ratio will change a little bit, well, hopefully. And I mean, if you can, I mean, Kiwis don't tend to get guides. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a guide, but like, if you can get a day or even half a day at the beginning to get somebody that really knows what they're doing to kind of put you on the right track, you'll save yourself a ton of time. I guess if you look at it like it's called working out, if you can maybe spend an hour or two with a personal trainer, but at the very beginning to learn technique and what it is you're supposed to be doing and thinking about this, that, and the other the right way, you'll save yourself a heap of time and potentially problems down the track. So that's kind of like an analogy for you. But if you can kind of get yourself on the right track and then just put the time in, man, just put the time in. Nothing really beats just getting out there and doing it.
Epic. So you just brought up a few points there that I can really relate to. One's type A. I'm an optometrist, so I'm very, very type A. 2, putting in the time. 10 years of hunting on my own, going for that steep learning curve, just throwing myself in the deep end. And 3, getting someone to help because I wish I'd done that. So
at the beginning,
yeah, and also your analogy there of personal training, you sort of see a lot of people turn up to the gym and just go, "What the hell do I do here?" And if anyone's got a reasonably good training age, they're kind of like, "Oh, it's easy. We structure it this way. What do you want to do? We use this piece of equipment, do this lift, and away we go." And it's like a new language, isn't it? And I suppose
100%, yeah.
Yeah, and then something like fishing that's sort of you have something that becomes an extension of yourself. The movements become natural. The reactions become
muscle memory, that kind of stuff. Mind muscle connection, kind of thing. It's all very, very similar, right?
Yeah. And then so with fishing, how much do you think the variables play into it? Like obviously there's a massive skill development, but are there still just some days where the variables get the better of you?
100%, man. I mean, like, it's, at the end of the day, it's just fishing, right? So you can take care of all the things you have control over, and then the rest of it is, I guess, adapting and making shit up on the spot. I mean, sometimes you go out and fishing's tough. Sometimes you go out and there's not much around. Sometimes the weather's shit. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes, you might get onto a river and someone's been up there the day before, so there's not much around. So there's a lot of adapting there. And then I guess what all you're doing then is on those days, those tougher days, you're just dropping your expectations and you're kind of, you might rock in there going, cool, man, we're going to have a great day, we're going to catch a heap of fish. And you get there and someone's been through the day before, but you're kind of committed to that river. Then all of a sudden you go, well, okay, we're going to have to slow things down. Maybe we're not going to catch a dozen fish today. We might catch 2 or 3, but, then you just use that as, all right, I'm going to try and fish this water here that somebody may not have fished very well yesterday. And then you just kind of change and adapt and do your best, man. And, sometimes it works out. And other times you're not catching anything. But that's the beauty of it, right? I guess it's like going for a hunt, Sometimes everything goes right and other times it doesn't go very well at all. Yeah.
And so I guess it becomes like levels of your fisherman journey where almost added challenge of someone being there is kind of like a reflection of your skill level. Is that right? A bit like picking up a bow or going for that real benchmark animal and really being selective of what you're after. Is that a similar type thing with fishing?
Oh, for sure. Definitely I guess you could call it like an evolution, eh? I mean, like when you first start fishing, you generally just want to catch a fish. And then once you kind of catch some fish, then you kind of like, I want to catch a fish. I want to catch as many fish as I can. And then as the years go on, for me personally, I've kind of moved past that. And then I'm more into now these days, I'm all about like sight fishing. So I want to sight fish to a big fish in a backcountry river, so I can see everything going on. You know, I can spot a fish, I can plan an attack, I can hopefully get some sort of a plan in place, and then it all comes down to like, you know, getting that fish to eat the fly, but all happening right in front of you. That's my buzz, is seeing it all go down. And some people like to, you know, they branch off into double-handed spay fishing and all this sort of thing, and that's the kind of cool thing. There's no just one thing to do. There's heaps of different skills and there's heaps of different approaches and ways to fish. And I think as you go on and the more you fish, you go down these little roads and explore that. And, that was kind of cool. I like that. I'll do that a bit more. And then you try something else. And then, you know, you kind of evolve as the years go on to like refining it, like you say, down to like, you know, exactly what you want out of it. I mean, definitely as I get older, I find myself appreciating just where I am heaps more. I used to, when I was younger, I'd be fish, looking in the river, just intent on catching fish. And then I'd be walking out and I'd be like, fuck, I didn't even look up today. All I did was look in the water. I didn't even look around. And, you know, catching fish is what it's all about. I think maybe as you get older, it's a getting an older thing. All of a sudden you just stop and look around and go, fuck, man, this is pretty cool. Look where you go.
Yeah. So I
get more out of it.
Yeah. I had a look at that, what was it, like fishing rumble in the jungle or fishing in the jungle or something, and you had some drone footage of that jungle.
Bolivia.
Is that wicked? Is that where you're sort of having the likes of a drone and thinking about presenting a trip? Does that sort of start to open up your awareness of the story behind it? Because that's exactly right. Getting people might, and it's a bit like grip and grins with hunting, you know, people see the end result, but actually that's the added bonus. I was talking, again, going back to talking to Toby Hines on a hunting camp down under, I was like saying how as hunters and backcountry fishermen, we're super lucky because at a base level, we're at this epic stage, and then everything on top of that is just an improvement.
That's right. You're not wrong, actually. Like, I think you see, like you say, you see that do you call it grip and grin as well, like an animal shot? So okay. So you have that, and then I think that kind of people get hung up on that to picture that's what I want that. But then once you do it for long enough, I think I like to think and try and show a bit more, especially like on YouTube and that kind of stuff. I like to just show the story behind all that, what you don't see of all the fucking shit days, the fuck ups, things going wrong, you know, not finding anything, you know, the long drives, the big walks, the misery, and just the kind of all that other stuff. There's so much more to it than just that, you know, that one animal or that one fish and that kind of thing. So yeah, you're totally right there, eh? Yeah.
Me and my mate were out on the quad bike last night moving some cows, and that was exactly what we were talking about. How isn't hunting or, you know, and fishing so stupid? Like, it's hard, it's wet, it's muddy, you've got to carry all your crap, and then if you're successful and you want to bring it back, you've got to carry even more crap.
Miserable.
It's absolute misery. like why would you do this thing? But you all of a sudden straight away go, what was all that stuff I was worried about in the city? Like, this is real.
Yeah, you just all of a sudden, and it's true, eh? You drop off the grid, and all you think about for that time is just what you're doing, where you are, what you're doing. All the other shit just melts away, and that's the beauty. It's a happy space, basically, isn't it? It is for me anyway. It's my happy space. Put me on a river, and I'm super happy. Yeah, absolutely. And you were talking about like all the stuff behind it. Like I'll happily walk all day for one shot at a potentially big fish. And whether it goes my way or not, I'm happy to do that. I've got no problem with that at all. But I don't want to go for a lovely walk along the lake. It doesn't interest me at all. But it's definitely a weird mindset.
Yeah, so in terms of preparedness for that, you're probably pretty lucky being, and that's an inverted commas word, one man's luck is another man's misery, but you're probably pretty lucky that guiding, you're out there doing it often. But in terms of preparedness, how do you prepare for the season, and then what do you think people should do to prepare for that? Like, getting a little bit type A and taking it seriously.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely want to step it up a level. Well, the first thing I would say is, and I get a lot of people say, you guide, you're just fishing every day. And no, I'm not. Guiding is guiding, and then fishing is fishing. They're two very different things. So even though I'm on the river every day, I always make sure throughout my summer that I'll guide for maybe 5, 6, 7 days straight, and then I'll leave myself a block of like 3 or 4 days, and I don't book anybody in, and I go fishing myself. And then that way I find that I don't get burnt out, and I get to fish a lot myself, which is my happy space. And then when I come back to the guiding, I'm always super happy and I enjoy it more. If all I did was guide and never fish, I'd get quite upset and grumpy quite quickly. So I always make sure, I'm not very good at balance, so I have to make sure that I actually leave myself those days throughout the summer to go and do my own thing. And then that way I might not have as much money at the end of the season, but I do a lot more fishing and I'm a lot happier. So it's kind of like that lifestyle thing is definitely, don't anybody be a guide if you want to be rich. It's the wrong way to go. But as far as preparing, my big thing is physically. I've got a few injuries over the years that I need to kind of take care of. So the stronger and fitter I can be, then keeps me in a better shape to go where we go and do what we do. So a lot of strength training, a lot of mobility stuff, a lot of stretching. I noticed, because you got into fitness in a good way not too long ago, you kind of ramped it up a bit.
Yeah, so I played rugby from halfway through university. Tried to get into a few sevens teams throughout time. Prior to that, I was playing football at a reasonable level, and water polo at a reasonable level. And then, it was kind of, I got a bad concussion in my last season in New Zealand, and then we moved to Aussie. I still played a little bit of rugby over there, but I joined a CrossFit gym. It was something that through uni with our training, we'd always sort of had an eye on, and I took the opportunity to join that. And so that was a really, really good year in terms of a different training modality. And then coming back to New Zealand,
different kind of fitness and strength, that functional stuff, and it's very different from that rugby sort of big weights, bench pressing, deadlifting, squatting. It's a different kind of strength. And I think that kind of stuff crosses over really well to what we do. Just the same sort of thing. Like I did bodybuilding for years, but then I changed my training not to CrossFit, but just to those similar kind of full body exercises, and that's what I do a lot of stuff like kettlebell swings, step ups, squats, lunges, all the things that those movements transfer across to the backcountry really, really well. Climbing around boulders, up and down hills, that kind of stuff. So I focus my training, I guess, regime, if you will, to try and mirror as best I can what I'm going to do out there. Therefore, I can do it day after day without getting injured or too tired or, that kind of stuff. So I thought it was kind of interesting looking through your feed and stuff when you came into that, how your kind of mindset, everything switched from that kind of, I guess, that old school style that I used to do as well.
Yeah.
You know, the basic exercises, split your body groups up, that kind of thing, to then all of a sudden across to that full body functional stuff. It's way better for what we get out there and do, I reckon.
Absolutely. And my final year of uni, that's when Keegan Smith entered my sphere. And prior to that, I've been following Elliot Hulse, which was definitely, he comes from a powerlifting background, and then to shift into Keegan Smith, who sort of worked with the NRL and now has real movement. It was kind of like he was adding skills to that functional athlete, which is really cool. And he was part of that Roosters team that won 2 in a row, and he went back there again, and they won again. So he was not just getting the guys to do Olympic lifting and bringing up big numbers on their deadlift, but he was also trying to get them to have massive range of movement with their squat, doing handstands,
within that whole range,
doing juggling. And what's really cool for Keegan is now he's teamed up with a guy in the States, knees over toes is what his handle is, and I've really ramped up this awesome online training thing again. Just and that's about range of movement. And so interestingly for me, in February, I was doing this. It was really quite simple in action, but sort of hard to get motivated. And sometimes we get to the end of the day and you're like, shit, I've got to do 34 burpees, which isn't that much. But doing that every day for February, then when I went hunting 2 weeks ago in the Rohini's and we climbed up, I was so fascinated at that, consistent movement, full body movement, how that followed into carrying a pack, climbing a hill, taking an animal off the hill was just like not a problem anymore. I was like, man, that really followed through. And
you can really think about when you're out on that hill and you're picking up that animal and you're going up or picking your way up a ridgeline or whatever like that, you can then start thinking about activating the same muscles that you're thinking about activating when you're in the gym.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that crossover becomes shit, I should have been doing this decades ago. It's just like a light comes on, and you're like, well, this makes so much sense.
Yeah. And I guess leaving rugby and then now focusing on trying to go hunting regularly, because rugby was very inhibitive to going hunting, which is probably why it took me so long to get success. But I think the hunting side of things is more like a life preparedness. And there's a doctor in the States called Peter Attia. He has this thing called the Centenarian Olympics, and it's like when you're 100, being able to get off the ground, being able to pick up your grandchild that runs at you,
wicked,
lift something over your head, so like a child weight, so that'd be like anywhere from 11 kgs to 20 kgs over your head.
It's a lot of weight. I hope I'm alive at 100, let alone lifting shit off the floor.
That's right. So it's just like this preparedness thing, and it's funny how you like hear one concept and then you start hearing it all over the place. Another trainer I follow is Derek Woodsky, who's an absolute legend. He threw hammer at the Olympics for Canada, and he introduced me to GPP, General Performance Preparedness, or something like that. General Physical Preparedness, I think it is. And that's like what he talks about off season is just about getting all these movements ready so that when you go into the gym to do specific stuff, again, you've got that strength over the range, and power sport like throwing a hammer is so dynamic, despite the fact that these guys are absolute brutes.
Yeah, you're right. Have you followed that guy Paul Sklar?
Paul Sklar,
Prescriptive Fitness. Yeah, you should look him up, man. Paul SKLAR X-Fit. He's got some really good stuff. He's a weapon, absolute weapon. But I think you'd enjoy some of the exercise he has on there. Very similar to what we're talking about.
Yeah. So where did the PT stuff come in for you? Was that you obviously got your UK accent? Is that from home or when you came out?
I used to be big into the bodybuilding. That's what I used to want to do when I was younger. So I was in the gym from like 15 onwards for the most part, and then go on.
Is Dorian Yates one of your idols then?
He was my hero, bro. I can't believe that. How do you know Dorian? Tell me you've met him.
No, I wish. I think he was on Rogan, and I think he was on London Real when I was listening to London.
Have you seen the London Real?
Yeah. Is there one of him?
There's two.
Oh, I must. Yeah,
time
now. I'm gonna go watch them.
Yeah. He's still awesome. So he was basically he's what I looked up to and wanted to aspire to, and not just because of the way he looked, but his approach to everything, the way he just looked at everything, broke everything down, and just approached it with that real, just, every day you lay a brick and just build, and just everything he did was everything he could do, he did, and he just did it like with this monk-like mindset, and he just overcame everybody and everything, and just like nobody, the way he didn't kind of go in the magazines, and he didn't kind of shout about what he was doing. He just went back to England, went to his shitty gym, which I've been to, it was awesome, and just did the work, and then turned up once a year and just blew everyone's mind. That was brilliant. So I came from that mentality, and then so I've always been interested in strength training and that sort of thing. And then even though I kind of came away from the bodybuilding side of things when I came over here, I always stayed in the gym. And then, so it's always been pretty much in my life. And then, so I used to, when I first came here to work, I was a skydiver. So I was a tandem skydiver. That's brought me here. So there's a good drop zone here at Taupo, which always has, well, apart from now, always has people coming to jump at. So that's what I came here to do, and then just kind of got stuck because, well, the fishing's so good and things are so good here, I never went back. But then when I stopped jumping, I didn't really know what else to do. And the only other thing I really knew how to do was train and fish. So I became a personal trainer, did that for a few years, and then slowly kind of transitioned over to fishing now. So now I kind of do a bit of both. So, when things quieten down in the winter, I'll drop back onto personal training, pick up a few clients, do that. It kind of gets me through winter, and then go back to the fishing, and kind of bounce between those two things. Yeah,
but mate, so with Dorian Yates, he's now into yoga. And
big yoga, he's over there in Spain.
Yeah, that's right.
Yoga. Yeah.
Shit, I hope he's all right.
Can't kill Dorian.
Yeah, you can't kill the back.
No, you can't.
What do you you said about stretching? What's sort of a way that you try stretch and keep mobile but strong?
So I tend, as with anyone, like when I'm being lazy, the first thing I don't do is stretch.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you get to there, I can't be asked to start. I'll do it later, but later never comes. And I tend to find, I know when I haven't stretched like for too long, because I get little niggles and things just feel tight and shit and sore and ache, and your body kind of tells you after a while that, you need to kind of get off your ass and do stuff. So a big one I do is at night, just sit on the floor in front of the TV and just stretch. You can watch TV pretty easily and then just knock out a 30-minute stretching session without really trying. And I tend to find that if I don't get it done in the gym, then I make sure that I sit at least for, like, jump on Netflix and pick I don't know, what I've been watching, rerun a Big Bang, and then just stretch for an entire episode. And then it's kind of done. And that's probably the motivation I need. Because I don't know, I trained this morning. I got up and it took me ages to warm up because it does now. And then I trained, and then I got to the end and I was getting hungry. So I didn't do as much stretching as I thought I should do. So what I'll probably do tonight is do exactly that. Put something on the telly, jump on the floor and stretch. And then just make yourself do it, eh? Yeah.
So what's your setup for isolated training?
For isolated training, so I mean, these days I'll lump a few more body parts together. So I think at the moment I'm just going through a 3-day training split, which will be lower body one day and core, and then like chest, shoulders, triceps. So kind of push pull principle at the moment. and then back, biceps, some traps, and some core every day on that third day, and I'll just try and rotate through those twice a week with one day off. And then I'll probably run that for a month, and then I'll swap up to something else, and I might go something a bit more kind of what we were talking about earlier, something a bit more functional, and just kind of maybe run that for a month, and then swap it up again. And I tend to find after about 4 weeks, if I'm consistent, I get a bit bored. So I'll change things up, do something else, and then just kind of keep rotating through. The good thing is, so I've got a gym set up in the garage here for basically when I do personal training clients. So I'm kind of lucky. I've got a gym here, so I have options. But it's nothing flash, you know. We've got a squat rack, got a cross trainer, got some free weights, got some dumbbells, got some kettlebells, you know, got some mats down, some bands, and that's pretty much, I mean, you can do pretty much anything with that and a bench.
Yeah. And
a lot of body weight stuff too.
Yeah. I tried to grab some rubber dumbbells before everything got locked up, but I wasn't the only person with that idea. And I see plenty of CrossFit gyms have donated out their gear, which I think's bloody awesome.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I saw really CrossFit Napier had done it, and a guy I know in Woodford, so sort of Papakura way, he'd got a bunch of gear from someone as well. So big shout out to any gym out there that's linked their equipment out, because that's freaking awesome.
That's above and beyond, you didn't have to do that. Yeah, that's very cool, man.
Yeah. But what I was going to
interesting to see.
Oh, you go, yeah.
No, go on. I was just gonna say it's super interesting to see how people kind of react over the next month. Yeah. You know, whether they come together and do cool stuff like that, or whether they just keep themselves to themselves, or just play and act like a dick and ignore everything and go outside and try and do stuff as normal. Well, I don't know. It'd be interesting, because nothing like this has ever happened in ever. We've had wars and stuff like that, but this is a non-wartime global kind of lockdown. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, and it's like that's what we're talking about at work. Like, it's over. Someone that went through the last flu pandemic would be in their 90s, so they'll be lucky to remember it if they're still alive.
Yeah.
And so
wasn't SARS the last kind of thing?
But
this? When was that?
Yeah, that was at the start of 2000s. That didn't really, especially here, it didn't come to anything. I don't know what the timing of it was, but it's quite interesting that it's like on the transition months, like autumn for us, so we could end up with shit hitting the fan if we don't get it under control.
Yeah.
But then they're still sort of not sure if it's like influenced by sunlight or not, or what. But
Well, they don't know anything, really, do they? Really?
Yeah, and that's why right now it's a conspiracy theorist dream, because they can just sort of twist the tail. Yeah, twist the tail to see what they want.
Yeah. Did you listen to the Rogan podcast where he had, I can't remember the guy's name, he had the disease specialist? Alex, that was interesting, eh?
Alex Gustav or something like that. I might be getting confused with the hunters, the educated hunters. They had an Alex on there as well. Hold on, I'll just see. Bring it up. Yeah, the conspiracy theories are outstanding. There's
some good ones.
I'm quite glad the 5G one has kind of lost its wave, but at the same time.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, so all that's really left with 5G is that 5G killed all the animals, and that's what brought about the rotting flesh, brought about the virus itself.
Really?
Yeah, but they were saying that the 5G weakens the immunity, and so it's interesting that places with 5G, it just suited a narrative. Like I said, you could
for sure
twist the stories and select whatever you want out of it, and then
make something juicy out of it if you want to, eh?
Yeah. Oh, what was that guy's name?
I can't. I've just been looking for it too. Actually, I can't find it on his Instagram. Check up at the.
That Peter has been doing
brief intermission for anyone listening. Just a brief intermission.
Yeah, another person that I've been really enjoying is Peter Attier again, and I can't find it. because he's been having. Now I've forgotten this guy's name too. Peter Hotez, who's been on Joe Rogan before. He works for the CDC.
Oh, yeah.
And he's been on the stuff in the States. And so they've done 2 sort of 1 hour long episodes. So there was one from the 19th of March, and that kind of applies to where we're at from the States. And then David Sinclair also did a good Instagram live. If you look him up, he's the guy that's sort of obsessed about longevity and was one of the people that found out.
I think I listened to that one.
Yeah, he's one of the people that found out about sirtuins and resveratrol, how it activates cert genes and makes you live forever.
Yeah, and how he's pretty confident that, not too far down the road they're going to be able to start combating stuff, eh?
Yeah.
As far as aging and that kind of stuff goes on.
It's pretty cool, or sort of, depends.
Yeah, pretty cool. It costs a bit too much money for me though, so I'm just going to keep training for now.
keep training, keep doing a little bit of fasting, eating lots of fish out of the river.
Have you been doing intermittent fasting?
Yeah, so especially out here at the farm, it's been quite cool because usually, usually with going to work, I sort of struggle to get any sort of time restricted feeding, and the best I could probably do is 12 hours. So I've just been trying to keep my carbs as low as possible. Try to keep coffee, no more coffees after midday type stuff. But yeah, being out on the farm, we've been having lunch and dinner, and it's been cool.
Oh yeah, it's interesting because that's another thing that I think is a big part of kind of what we were talking about just now, is as well as the training, is making sure that you're eating well to fuel yourself for. Because you do some long days out there, some early starts, some big days, cover some Ks, a lot of effort, and then probably some late drives home and everything like that. And especially if you want to do it day after day, if you're not eating properly, that's a huge thing, man. Like, you can do it for maybe a day, but then at the end of the day, you feel like shit. And then you probably want a day or two off before you can do it again. So that's another massive part just of kind of what we're talking about. And then obviously every day is kind of, it figures into that as well. But if you're going out there, all you're doing is having nothing when you get up in the morning and then shove a couple of muesli bars in your face and then some chocolate on the way home, it's not very good to fuel your body. Especially for those, those big days. And also, talking, I guess we're kind of off the back of that, but talking about preparedness and things like that. Another thing is when you're out in those places, is that whole safety thing, making sure that, you've got maybe some muesli bars or some OSMs in your pack in case you end up staying out there for a night. Making sure you've got some fire starting stuff, making sure you've got a beacon. Like, I always carry a PLB with me, and that kind of stuff. And I do a bit of search and rescue as well, and it's amazing how quickly you can actually zone in on one of those PLB signals. Nice. Once they've been set off, like two within 2 meters of it, like really quite quickly. And stuff like leaving an itinerary with somebody. I'm going to go here, I'm probably going to park here, and then this is my plan. So that if they don't come home, and then search and rescue can then get in touch with them, and then they can say, well, this is where he's going, and then they've got actually a last known point to start from, rather than just making it up. Yeah. It's all little things like that kind of come into. So if you have those things in place, and then you also have some stuff with you that can keep yourself, you can start a fire, maybe some dry clothes in your pack in case you get wet, some muesli bars so you can actually feed yourself for 24, 48 hours or whatever if you have to, so that while people are getting themselves together and coming to find you, you can make yourself somewhat comfortable and and get through it. That's a huge thing as well. Big on that.
Yeah. So
we pick up a lot of hunters that just go out for a quick evening hunt and don't come home.
Yeah. So for you guys, obviously you watch footage of people chasing fish, especially in the high country rivers, which are cold. What is sort of the gear, and what do you sort of prioritize in terms of dry gear in the pack? Obviously having a set of merino
base layers.
Undergarments in your pack is always good if you fall in and get soaked. Being able to get that off and get those on. My mate, free range hunting NZ, Justin, he did a cool test the other day. He had a bath full of ice, and he chucked all the garments that he had in there, and then just chucked them straight on, and sort of looked to see at how quickly they sort of wicked and how quickly he sort of felt warm in them. Yeah, that's because
that's interesting.
He was off to Fiordland, and so he wanted to just really get a handle on, even if I'm wet, which is, happens down there. What is going to be the safest sort of stuff? So what do you sort of prioritise around gear that you're wearing and then gear that you've got in the pack?
What did he come up with? What did he get any results for it?
He had a couple of Under Armour stuff that was good, and
I got some of that.
Icebreaker, of course, Merino, as I just said, just worked really, really good.
Yeah,
and then he's gone and got a whole bunch of Sitka stuff, which like First Light, they've got New Zealand Merino in them, and just epic products.
Yeah, I think definitely when it comes to gear, I'm definitely at the point now where you get what you pay for, eh? If you do pay a little bit more, it's so worth it. I spent a couple of years just kind of like, I'll just get something cheap because I'll wreck it, and then it just doesn't stand up to not to New Zealand stuff anyway, not New Zealand terrain and weather. It just doesn't handle it. Eh? It's definitely, I think if you're gonna buy some stuff, try and bite the bullet and pay the money for some good gear. You were just talking about there. Justin was looking into was base layers, so layering's a big part. So if I'm wet wading, which I'll do as soon as I can bear to wet wade and handle the cold, I'll probably spend the first month of the season wet wading cold, just because I don't like wearing waders. And then probably the same at the end, but I'll run just a pair of base layer pants. And then either just some board shorts over the top or some quick dry pants, and then I've always got a base layer t-shirt or long sleeve underneath whatever top I'm wearing, and then in a dry bag in my bag I've always got spare socks, spare base layer pants, and spare base layer top, and a beanie as well, because they all roll up real nice and small together. You can jam them down the bottom of your pack and you don't even know they're there. I won't go anywhere without a raincoat, just because, you know what it's like in the hills. You can start off real nice and warm and sunny, and then by lunchtime it's cold and windy and rainy. And then I'll always have dry clothes in the truck for the end of the day, because there's nothing better, man, than when you get back to the truck, you just rip all that wet shit off and put some nice comfy clothes on to drive home in. It's brilliant. Totally recommend that. And also, like I said, we talk about that, locator beacon, that kind of stuff. Just it's amazing to me how many people don't have one, because they're like $400, man. It's not that expensive, and you'll drop $800 on the new GoPro to go and film yourself and put it on Instagram, but you won't drop $400 on something that might save your life. It's crazy. Yeah. And it hasn't got to be spectacular. You haven't actually got to do much to get stuck. Just roll your ankle. Fucked.
And I guess that's what's speaking to the message to hunting and fishing and sea fishermen, to surfers, whatever it is, to not go out there in the parks, because that's all it does take is rolling your ankle, and then I mean, I was borderline there for up until like the big lockdown. I was like, well, fuck, it's sweet, man. I'm just going to go and fish for a month. It's going to be great. Self-isolation is going to be the best thing out there, And then all of a sudden it was like they start putting all that, and you're like, actually, no, that would be a real dick move. So I won't do that. Yeah. Because like you say, you go out there, you drop into the middle of nowhere, and then just again slip over, dislocate your ankle, and you've got a big old search on your hands then. So, with that, how much experience have you had with the InReach? Is there been any rescues that have used that yet?
I don't know about rescues, but when I was over in Bolivia, I was using one to touch base with Elena back here, and it was really good, man. Like I don't have one, but the next GPS I get will be one of those, just for that communication thing. Because like I would we'd go on like 3-4 exploration day missions in Bolivia, and then I would text Elena at night from over there, and then she showed me when I got home. But when she got the message from me, she could then like swipe right, and then it would give her an exact coordinates of where I had sent the message from. It was really cool, man. I was super impressed, and like we could talk, you know, just like a text message on the phone, but from the other side of the world. And yeah, I was real impressed, real good. So I'll definitely get one of those. Just for that, you know.
Yeah.
If you need to, you can call someone.
And was that the Mini, or was that the whole unit?
That was the whole unit. Well, it's the same. I don't know. It's the same size as like a normal Garmin GPS.
Yeah.
So you basically have that, and then you have an app on your phone, and then you could basically link the two, and then you could just text on your phone like a normal text message, and it would just send it to your phone. Yeah, it was good, man. It was really good.
Yeah, I've got.
So that would probably be. You go then. You've got one of those.
Oh no, I've got the Garmin. Like I think it's 65 or something. The radio walkie-talkie one, and then I've got a PLB from my mate, but that's 10 years old, so it's probably at the end of its life. So I need to decide what I'm going to do, and I think I'm going to hold out to get one complete inReach unit.
Like an inReach?
Yeah.
That'd be good. I recommend it.
Yeah, because I think they're around 700, those ones, which
I think so.
There's a little bit of cash, but like you say, save your life. And if you're going to buy a camera or buy a GoPro, shit, there's nothing compared to them.
Exactly. It's one of those things you kind of would always, you'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah. And that's where I think having the GPS one is quite good, because, you know, you're already using it. Well, I know I am.
Yeah, that's right.
And then, like you say, you've got that capacity to send out the SOS should.
Yeah, you know what else is really good? Have you got that NZ Taupo Map 50 on your phone?
I keep getting told to download it, yeah, but I'm rocking.
It's good, man.
iPhone SE at the moment, and it's struggling to take photos at the moment. So maybe when I finally get around to getting my phone replaced, I'll look at that.
Yeah. It's a really good thing if you haven't got a GPS unit. I was in the South Island at the beginning of the season, and my buddy he had that on his phone, and we actually ended up using that more than my GPS. Just because I kept running the battery down on my GPS, and it was really good. Didn't fail us once. Eh? And you can get in real close and real detailed. Yeah. It was like $8 or something.
No, that's good, mate. So you said about skydiving. How does that kick off?
It was a bucket list thing. I wanted to bungee jump. I wanted to skydive. All those sorts of things. And then I did it. I was back in the UK. I did it. It was called a accelerated freefall level 1, which is where you go out with 2 instructors hanging on to you, and you kind of go through your drills. And because I didn't want to do a tandem. I wanted to do it myself. Mm-hmm. That was that. And then just got down and was like, oh no, I really like that. And then skip forward 10 years, and I just basically become a bum and just left my job and learned to skydive and just became a drop zone bum. Yeah. And just jumped and just got into that space. And it was great. It was a great way to spend 10 years, and it got me over here. Yeah. You know, got me into New Zealand and kept me here as well. So yeah. And a long story short, started off as a one-off thing, and then just ruined my life for like 10 years.
Mate, so does the excitement ever leave when, like, if you're facilitating a tandem? Yeah, what's it like for you facilitating a tandem? Because obviously the person must absolutely buzz out.
Yeah, it starts off as that overwhelming, sensory overload. Just this is the best thing ever in the world, and it's super cool. But I guess we can liken it back to we're talking about how your fishing evolves. It's the same with that. It evolves. So your first few hundred jumps, even more. There's a lot of fear in there, and you're kind of dealing with that and kind of improving your skill level and that sort of thing. And then you enter Then you enter the real danger zone, which is, I reckon, between like 200 jumps and like 1,000 jumps.
Mm-hmm.
It's where you have a couple of hundred jumps under your belt, and you kind of think that you know some stuff now. You think you're kind of experienced and you're good. And then between that and 1,000 is a real danger area, because you get this real kind of blurry line between ambition and ability. You think you can do these things, but you're actually really not that good at the moment. You still got very little experience. And you get to 1,000 jumps, and then you generally realize then that at 1,000 jumps, you kind of think when you start, when I've got 1,000 jumps, man, I kind of know, I know everything I need to know by 1,000, you know, I've pretty much. Then you get there and you realize, you know, fuck all. And then you just kind of, you've just been a bit of an idiot for the last 700 jumps or so. And, you know, if you get through that, you kind of go, okay, I'm going to just kind of wind my neck in a little bit here, and then just kind of, you know, you kind of know enough about 1,000 jumps to realise you don't know much at all. So, and then from about there onwards, it depends where you go with it. Like, the fun jumping was always fun, but I guess once you get more experience, you have less fear, and you kind of thinking about what you're doing more, and you kind of learn new skills, and you're kind of enjoying, you know, jumping, planning jumps, jumping with other people, trying out different things and wingsuits and you know, different kind of stuff like that. So I guess the fear goes away, and then the enjoyment is more. So your experience changes. And then, to be fair, like once I turned into doing tandems for a job, that's pretty much all I did. And by the end of it, I was pretty numb to it all. I actually did it a few years too long. I should have stopped jumping a few years back. I was kind of over it by the time I finished.
Yeah.
And it was just another day at work, you know. It's funny what you get used to. But yeah, it definitely, and it would have been a different story had I approached it like I approach my guiding now. And actually, you know, I'm going to work, then I'm going to take a couple of months off, and I'm going to go abroad and do some fun jumping, and, you know, keep the love alive. I think it would have been a different story, but I just turned it into a full-time job. Yeah, and just did it too much. Yeah. Which is a shame. And so I'm very aware of that with my fishing. Yeah. That's why I'm very, very strict and like, right, I'm going to leave time to fish, because I don't want to spoil fishing for me.
Absolutely. You brought up a perfect anomaly for the Dunning-Kruger effect just then. You know just enough to be a complete idiot. And that's been the case with I can't remember what it was last year. There was something going on where everyone was like, "Oh, shut up! You don't know anything." And then that speaks to the conspiracy theories out there. You know, you learn a little bit, and so all of a sudden you've got this theory that you avidly, passionately know about, and whereas you're
everything.
Just talking out your ass.
100%, man. Yeah.
And you know, I went on an introductory seminar for some light therapy 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I'm very conscious of the Dunning-Kruger effect. And I was like, man, I know enough now that it's dangerous.
Just enough to be dangerous. Yeah.
I'm going to start doing this and then go, I don't know.
Oh no, I've made a terrible mistake. Yeah.
There's been plenty of keyboard experts come out of this COVID-19, and that's why. Like you said, the same with like fishing. It pays to just be on a gigantic learning curve, because then you're just humbled by it, and you're like, oh shit, I don't know anything. You always learn. Same with hunting. I'm sure that you'll never stop learning something. There's always something else to learn. Something else that my gran always used to say to me. She used to say, "You got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Yes.
Listen twice as much as you talk." And it sticks with me. It's true, man. Like, just shut up and listen, and you'll learn so much more. Or just shut up and watch. Yeah. And just kind of take some stuff in. And
2 eyes as well.
That's right. Yeah, 2 eyes as well. Good one.
Yeah.
And it's super true. Eh? Like, I learn stuff from my clients. You know, because you're talking, you're on the river, and just going back and forth, and all of a sudden they'll know something, or they'll do something, or heard something you haven't, and you pick that up. So I think as soon as you get into that, sweet, well, I've been doing this long enough now, I know everything. You kind of close your mind off, and you'll never learn anything else again.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy.
No. Mate, you said about the fear with skydiving, and like the only sort of parallel I can reach with that, like I've done a bungee jump, and I managed to actually jump, which I was stoked about.
Good effort. They're terrifying, man. They're way scarier than a skydive.
Yeah, it
Way
was kind of
scarier.
like,
Yeah.
it was kind of like you're standing there, and it's so my boss terms bungee jumping and skydiving as simulated suicide. and there's a theory that people that drink black coffee are psychopaths. So I'm one of them. So maybe
Is
that's
there?
what.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so gin and Campari, like things that are bitter, are basically again simulated suicide. You're drinking something that's evolutionary supposed to be poisonous, like bitterness is supposed to be poison. Yeah, so
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm getting off track, but yeah, the only thing I can really parallel to it is doing a boxing match, and I've done two of them, and they're both like badly organised and things, so it's probably pretty dangerous, particularly someone who's had a lot of concussions. But the first one I did, I could literally see like the space of if you made a circle with your fingers and looked through that.
Tunnel effect.
Yeah, that was my field of view. And then the second one, we did some training for it, and I had a guy in the corner that knew what he was talking about. And by the third round, I could hear him see the whole body of my opponent, and I could actually start to hear the crowd as well. Like,
wow,
is that where skydiving you kind of like are just literally focused on the thing to pull in your backpack, and then it improves out to taking in the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, like the way I did it was there was like a whole day of ground training to start with, because you've got to learn the right body position, how to get in and out of the plane and exit, and kind of fly your body, so you don't get out of control and get into trouble. So you had a lot of drills, a lot of training, a lot of stuff to think about. So even though the fear's there, you have basically that all you're trying to focus in is basically what I've been training for the last 10 hours. Like yesterday, everything I did yesterday, you're trying to remember that, how to get in the door, what body position, how you're going to, check in and check out and count to leave the plane. And then when you leave the plane, you've got to try and get your body position, and then you're trying to adjust. Then you've got drills to go through, altitude checks, dummy pulls. So you've got a lot of stuff to focus on. So if you can kind of, if you can zone in on that stuff, then that kind of gets you through the sensory overload. And it happens, man. People get out the plane and just glaze over and forget everything, and that's fine. That's why you have two people there to hang on to you, or you do a tandem where you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But definitely that whole kind of tunnel vision thing. I guess the skydiving version of that is you're just focusing, okay, I've got to do this, now think about this, and then next I do this, and then I've got to do this, and then you're just kind of focusing on that. You're certainly not looking at the door and going, cool, wow, look at that view, and then taking in that, and looking around here, and, kind of all that, just, you don't remember any of that stuff. Then you get on the ground and you start to kind of debrief and go through it, and then you watch a video and you're like, fuck, I don't remember doing that. And look at that, that's me, I don't remember doing that. And then, so you definitely block out a lot of it and just try and get through it. So I imagine it's pretty similar to that tunnel vision. Yeah.
It's
as far as
is that the same as when you were saying about going on the fish, as when you first started off, just being so focused on the river, do you think, and not taking in the scenery?
I think so, yeah. I think you just maybe that's definitely our kind of personality too. You get so focused. This is what I'm here to do. Everything else just kind of gets pushed out of the way, and this is what I have to do this now. And then you kind of forget about other stuff. So it could be a thing. I'm sure somebody out there could tell us. It's a type A personality kind of thing where you can separate things and ignore one thing, push it out of the way, just focus on something else. But that can also be it can be good as far as I guess focusing in on something, but I think it can also be a bad thing too, because you miss so much out.
Yeah. So as the guide, are you quite conscious of that? You go, hey, look around, and
yeah, I'm really big on that. I'm because we talk about fishing. Fishing is fishing, and we go there, we try to catch fish. That's cool, but same with hunting. Sometimes it's just not happening. Sometimes it's tougher than other days. Sometimes if there's not as many fish out feeding, sometimes, things don't go according to plan. But I'm also big on the experience as a whole. Like if I can teach you something as a guide, if I can teach you something, a skill or a technique or something like that, then whether you catch fish or not, if you can leave knowing more than when we turned up, then you've got something out of the day. You can go home and you can apply those skills that you learned with me, and then you can catch fish where you live on another day. It's not, I don't look at guiding as in you pay me the money and then you're guaranteed to catch a fish. We'll work hard to try and get you fish, but at the end of the day, I have no control over what goes on in that area. Not much control anyway. But I can teach you something, and I can explain stuff to you, and I can help you this, and I can give you a tip here, and I can tweak that there, and we can help you casting there, and talk about drifts and different techniques and that sort of thing. So there's a lot to gain from a day with a guide, I think, if they're definitely focused on that kind of thing. And then another big part of that, like you say, is just like, dude, look at that cool cliff up there. Look at that cool bush. You see that cool bird working over there? It's coming out that cliff and it's coming around here, and it just grabbed that mayfly out of just little things like that. And even if they don't appreciate it, I like it. I think it's cool. So I'll point it out.
Yeah, no, that's wicked. But so you said about how for you now it's about going to a place and spotting and approaching and trying to nail it. Is it
hunting?
Yeah. Is it? That's I guess you said it right there. It's hunting. But for me, when I've now got to the stage where people are asking me about, oh, can I come hunting with you? And I need to say to them straight away, like, yeah, absolutely. But I'm still a beginner, and but I don't know whether it's going to the right places or getting better or what it is about it. But now I'm starting to see animals, and like now for the first time ever, I went to a place for the first time and we got something, and I'm like, well, okay. is this now? This is I'm able to imprint what I've had from going to a place regularly and picking the spot to now. I can see those
just
things.
Leveled up, man.
Yeah. Can I see those things now in another place? And I'm sure I'll go to a new place and be humbled again. But is that kind of where you get at with fishing, that you can start to look at the way the river's going, look at the pools, look at the midges and the bugs around, and pick out the right fly and just nail it? Or again, there's too many variables.
Definitely. I don't know about nailing it every time, but definitely what you said there that's a definite thing. So, I mean, a river's a river, a trout's a trout, and I could quite happily go to a river I've never fished before and be pretty confident that I would at least find fish. Mm-hmm. Whether I catch them or not, I mean, I can fuck up that shot quite easily, but I know I'm pretty confident about where to look for fish, where fish are likely to sit, what kind of water, and that kind of thing. So what you were saying there, taking that imprint of something that you've learned, if you now go to the South Island or you go to Bolivia. Bolivia. You go somewhere like down Wellington Way, or go to Carmanawas or the Ruahinis or Tiruawaras or whatever. You can take those same principles, and it would surely, I'm guessing, certainly fishing anyway, and I'm guessing hunting, those same principles will apply. You start. I mean, an animal's an animal, right? So you'll be looking for a clearing, I suppose, or some tracks, or some scrapings, or some fresh poop, or whatever it is you look for. I'm sure you're looking for the same things wherever you go to kind of zone it down to wherever you might find an animal. It's certainly the same with a river. I'll go to a river I've never fished before and, be pretty confident I'll at least see a fish. Whether I catch it or not, that's down to me, but I'm pretty happy I can find fish in most places because they sit in the same kind of water. Rivers run the same. You're looking for the same kind of environment, structure and depths and drop-offs and, edges and soft water and seams and all those sorts of things. It's pretty standard.
Cool. So
yeah, for sure.
Something that I've sort of been approaching it is, and especially with the way, our wild game are sort of classified as an invasive species, and for the purpose of taking that point within New Zealand and applying it to say, why are they invasive species? Well, it's because they damage the ecology. And so then I take another step and go, well, why, or what is it about our ecology that they are impacting on? And so then I try and look for that ecology. And I guess the same thing could be said about trout. Now luckily in New Zealand, our trout are a managed species with fish and game, but
they were introduced to start with, right?
And they eat native fish. So how do you sort of put the ecology lens on our fishing resources?
I mean, I guess what we got in New Zealand is kind of unique, and it's why a lot of people want to come here and fish. Is we've got a unique blend of like super, for the most part, clear rivers that are real pristine, clear water, and a very good environment for them to live in. And for some reason, we tend to have, on average, less fish per river kilometre than, say, somewhere like the States or the UK or Europe. But the average fish is generally a lot bigger than anywhere else. So what you've got is clear water, bigger than average fish, and the ability to actually sight fish to these fish. And that's kind of what people come to New Zealand for, is that kind of that scenario, which you don't get in many other places in the world. So we're kind of unique in that way. So that's why people want to come here. And I think because of that, it's such a world destination that you can't really deny how good it is for the New Zealand environment. It's great for business. It's great for, people coming here. It brings people to our country, creates, jobs for all sorts of people, myself included. So it's a good thing. But what we have got is, because there's so few fish relatively compared to other countries, is it's very easy to put too much pressure on our rivers. And because there's not as many fish within those river systems, they can't handle the pressure that perhaps a river with dozens more fish per mile would be able to. You might have a piece of water that has a big pool and has one big fish that kind of owns that pool, and maybe a couple of smaller fish that kind of are there. But it's not like you have a pool just full of fish. So if you catch that one fish, especially if you keep it, then what you're doing is you're taking those big breeding fish out of the river system, and then pretty soon you have no big breeding fish left, and your fishery suffers. And the same as if you put too much pressure on, they can't be caught day after day after day after day, because they just can't handle it. So, and it's getting a lot like, especially in the South Island, you get a lot of overseas anglers coming over and fishing, on fishing holidays for weeks or months on end. And what's happening is those rivers are getting hammered, especially this year in the South Island. There was a big mouse year down there, so a lot of big fish. They've been eating mice, so they get huge. Word got out about that, and I was getting reports back from the South Island that it was ridiculous amount of pressure down there, and those rivers can't handle it. So there needs to be some kind of, I think people need to be thinking about some kind of management system so that it can actually handle, or they need to reduce the pressure on the rivers. I don't even know. I'd hate to be the guy that's in charge of doing that, because I don't know how you go about it. But if it carries on getting more and more and more and more pressure, then things are going to suffer down the road for sure. So yeah, it's quite a fragile ecosystem out there, eh?
Yeah, and so do you see the native fish much around, or?
Nah, I don't even know if there's any native fish left, to be fair. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
If anyone out there knows, they should comment and tell us, because I'm pretty sure when the trout were introduced, they just ate them all.
Yeah. So that'd be, for people that do monitor and look for native fish, it'd be interesting to see when there's a bumper year of catch that's taken out of the rivers, what that, as a total ecology, what does it sort of do? Do you get a rebound of native fish, or like you say, is it a case that they're just gone and so they're semi-endangered? I don't know. I don't know anything about a native fish. I just know there are some. I know that trout eat them, and
they used to, and that's all they used to be in our rivers. Just these little small. I can't even remember what they were called now. I say kakapo or something, but I don't think it's that. But yeah, there was just small, nothing big, and there was nothing else in there. And then the rainbow trout, they originally came, they're Californian steelhead strain fish. That's where they came from. And then the brown trout came over from Australia.
Right.
Well, they came via Australia. I'm pretty sure they came from Europe. They've got some brownies that have little orange spots towards the back of their body, and they're from Scotland, a loch called Loch Leven. I say it wrong. Someone's going to get angry at me. And then there's some really dark red spotted ones. I think they come from Germany, but they all came via Australia in the 1800s.
Yeah. And so are there many salmon in the North Island?
I don't think there's any. I think, I could be wrong, but I don't know. I think they're all down south. There's some landlocked salmon, like in Wakatipu, and then those East Coast rivers get a run of salmon in the spring, maybe. I'm not too sure. I've never done it. And then obviously there's salmon in the hydro canals. Yeah.
I don't know. I think the fish that I did catch out of Lake Wanaka, I feel like it was a salmon, but then it might have been a rainbow. It was.
I don't know if there's salmon in there.
Yeah, it must have been a rainbow. Silvery.
There's definitely browns and rainbows in there.
Yeah. I think I hit it on the head and it reflexed, but my I think I was using a Tasmanian devil. Spin was just casting and spinning.
The old Tassie,
eh? Needless to say, I'm not an experienced or good fisherman. It's been years as well.
Is it something? I mean, you're over in Hawke's Bay now. Is it something that you'll probably maybe give a go, or are you just kind of keen to just go hard in the hunting?
Yeah, a bit of both, but like as I said, walking that Makino and seeing that trout, it was just like, ooh, here's some. And especially in the middle of summer where hunting's not much good in the middle of the day, I was like, man, that'd be a fantastic way to pass the day.
Yeah, actually would, because especially the sun, you want that sun in the sky so you can see. That's a great way to pass the day. Get up and hunt in the morning and then have some breakfast, drink a heap of coffee, and then go fishing.
Yeah, man, and I think what, like I said, my uncle and my cousin, they've got a place out of Marama, so they go down to Benmore and Avamore and wade.
Oh, cool!
And catch a lot of fish.
Cool country down there, man.
Yeah, and so it's always been one of those things, and like had a bunch of fishing rods on the roof, but yeah, we'd never really use them. We'd try spin or just let the river flow on the Ariti, see if we could pick up any of the trout running out of there. Yeah, I don't know if they're any good to eat with the amount of dairy effluent in the Ariti, lower Ariti, but yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's another real issue, is dairy.
Yeah,
especially where our rivers are concerned and that sort of thing. That's something they're going to have to stamp on real quick.
Yeah, so like, do you talk to many of the guys on the likes of the Rakaia and Waimak that are salmon fishing?
No, I don't really know anyone in that kind of space, eh? Yeah, not too sure what's going on down there.
I'm going to have to flick this podcast to my good mate Ewan Rodway. He works for Environment Southland, I think, testing water quality, and he's a keen fisher.
Oh, yeah?
His old man was...
that'd be real interesting.
Yeah, his old man was head of fishing game for a long time down in Southland, and yeah, he was always, like you're saying about the mice, it was something I never knew really existed, that, yeah, his old man saying that, yeah, mice out there, chuck that on your rods. I was like, what, a mouse?
Yeah, because there's so much beech forest down there, right? Yeah. Every so often they'll have what they call a mast year.
Yeah,
and it's when they get those beech trees just flower extra. They're just extra flowery for whatever reason, and they drop all the seed onto the ground, and then the mice population explodes. And then the following summer, they find their way into the water, and the fish key onto them. So then, of course, they just pack on size like at an unbelievable rate. So then you'll have like an 8-pound fish will very quickly become a 10-pound fish, 11-pound fish, and then all of a sudden you've got these just huge things. And that's what happened this year. They're just, some massive, massive fish. And we don't get it so much up here in the North Island. Mm-hmm. I guess we don't have the beech forests like they do down south to the same extent. But yeah, when those mouse fish come on, that's when people just lose their heads. And and come on over and just they just give it a lot of hammer. But there's some amazing fish come out down there this year. Huge things.
Like it. So in terms of fly selection, like cicadas, obviously. What are you looking for?
Yeah, well, so the biggest thing, I get this question a lot. The biggest thing, more important for the most part, the more important thing in New Zealand fishing is a good presentation and a good drift than what fly you have on. Like you go fish in the States and you'll go to a certain river and like they'll tell you, oh, right now fish are feeding on like a size 12 olive drake in this particular shade of olive, and if you don't have that, you're not going to catch anything. Here, it's a bit more. They're a bit more. We don't have those big hatches that they have on over there. Things trickle off here and there, but there's stuff tumbling around. But we don't get big hatches, so fish are much more kind of opportunistic. If it looks like food, they'll probably go over and eat it. So it's more important that you get a good presentation and get a good drift and get your flies drifting kind of at the right depth, but looking really natural. Just drifting down, than it is about what actual fly is on there. I mean, if you look at my fly box, it's pretty much small and brown, small and green, small and red, small and black, and then slightly bigger, slightly heavier, slightly bigger, and slightly heavier, and that's about it. You know, there's a few variations, but it's all just there to look like some kind of bug. So small and brown's pretty good. That doesn't work. And the good thing about seeing a fish is you can see how it reacts to your flies and your casts and your drifts. So you can see if a fish comes over and looks at your flies and refuses it, then you're going to change your fly. Maybe give it a different color, maybe go a bit smaller, maybe, try something else. Maybe go, add something off the back of that, or just change it up, because you can see, well, he came over and looked, but he didn't want to eat it, so I'm not going to show him that again. I'll show him something else. I'll put something green on, or I'll drop it and go slightly smaller. So it's more about presentation and drift than it is about what fly you have on. There's always that's usually the case. There's always an example where that's not the case, and it's getting just a bit fussy and a bit tricky, but it's not very often that's the case. You talked about cicadas. We had a real, around here and here, we had a really shit cicada year. It never really got going, and so they never really tuned into them that much. And a lot of it depends on if you come up on a fish and you can see it. You're looking at what kind of water it's sitting in, how deep it is. Is it water fast? Is it up on an edge? Is it really kind of shallow? Is the fish up high in the water? Is it kind of deep down on the bottom? And then you kind of, once you suss that, then you kind of look at, well, if it's deep down on the bottom in 8 feet of fast flowing water, I'm probably not going to put a small dry fly on, because he's just never going to see it. And he's probably on the bottom feeding on nymphs anyway. So what I'll need to do is pick a rig that's going to get my flies down to that fish in his zone, and kind of get him down to that, to where he is, rather than put a small dry fly over him all day. He's not going to see it and or come up for it. So you want to get your flies down to him. But if you find him on the edge in a couple of feet of water and he's kind of sitting up fairly kind of active, moving around, then you could put a dry fly over him and he might come up and eat it. If not, then I might put a slightly weighted nymph on just underneath it, just so it sits just under the surface, and just you kind of watch the fish. I guess it would be like watching a deer. You can see what he's up to. Is he kind of, is he going around there? He's feeding on this side of the clearing, or he's popping in and out here. You kind of sit there and just watch him for a while, see what he's up to. He's just sitting, he's swinging out to the left a lot. Is he coming up in the water? Is he eating anything off the top? Is he just sitting on the bottom? Is he just kind of, is he moving left? Is he moving right? Is he moving one way or the other, or all over the place? And then you can kind of go, okay, I'll approach this way with this fly and this setup, and just kind of, it's always different. You're always chopping and changing your rigs depending on what kind of water you've got, or what kind of fish you come across and where it is and what it's doing. It's kind of the fun of it. Everything's a bit different. Yeah. And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. Yeah.
Is it the fun of it? Like, I don't know if it just speaks to me. I love the technicalities of stuff, but it's a real exciting thing. And like say, fishing, but man, there's so many little intricacies that do make it exciting and fun.
Little variables. Yeah, you can sit there and just kind of You take your time, slow down, just watch the fish for a bit and see what he's up to. Sometimes they'll be on one spot and then they'll be doing a big beat and they'll drop down and cruise around a pool and go back up and then do like a big circle and come back down. So then you go, well, maybe if he's gonna be doing a big beat and coming back down, I'll wait until he's on his way back down next time, and then I'll put my fly out in front of him and kind of lay a trap for him, and then twitch the fly as he gets near and see if I get his attention and come over, or if I do this way, then I'm going to risk him seeing the fly line land on the water, and I'm going to spook him. So, sometimes you've got to, crawl through the bushes a bit and get into a better position and just, get all stealthy on it. It's great fun. It's just like being 12 years old, bro. You just go out there and just mess around in the bush, eh? It's great.
mate, you just brought up perfectly the topic I was thinking of. You said about the sun high in the sky and being able to see the fish in the water, and earlier you brought up the fact that if there's been fishermen through there, then it makes it a whole bunch harder. How much of the cover-up is about protecting yourself from New Zealand's sun, especially you being from the UK, and also trying to fall into your surroundings so that you will figure, especially because you're moving so much, try to get the cast right and like I said, the drift and things. How much about the way you cover up is one, protecting you from our sun, and two, like I say, being a bit stealthy, blending into the background?
Yeah, definitely the covering up thing. Do you guys wear buffs? Do hunters wear buffs at all?
And they're becoming more popular, especially as guys get into bow hunting, which is me as well. I'm looking at.
Oh, cool.
There's a Sitka hoodie called the Apex, and it's got a full face mask, merino. Yeah. And mid to base layer type thing. Yeah, that's what I'm.
Oh, badass.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big part. So sunscreen, I go factor 50 these days, and then I'm trying to be much better at actually remembering to put the fucking stuff on at the end of the day. And then buffs are huge. I pretty much wear a lot of, and then also if you're in a place where there's sandflies, that's a real good way.
Yeah.
To keep them out of your eyes, and then just keep them covered up. Legs are generally covered up anyway, with either leggings or pants, and then or waders if you're wearing waders, and then just kind of buff's probably the big one, and then just any like forearms and stuff will be sunscreen. And then when it comes to like blending in, I mean, in an ideal scenario, you're always behind the fish for the most part anyway, so he should never see you.
Right.
Any of your movement. At the times where you have to get a bit more opposite the fish or closer to the fish, it becomes a lot more about if you can move slowly, then you'll get away with a lot more. And if you have a backdrop of like thick bush or trees, they won't pick you up moving amongst that stuff nearly as easily as if you're up on top of a high exposed bank silhouetted against the sun. They'll see you a mile off like that. But if you can kind of get in and next to bushes and move slowly, you can get away with quite a lot. So I think it's, as far as colour goes, man, I mean, I used to have a bright orange backpack, and I don't think I ever spooked a fish because of my backpack. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a lot more about movement and noise than it is about what colour, hoodie you've got on or, fishing shirt. I know there's people that disagree, but I've never really thought it's been a problem. So I think it becomes more about staying low, staying tight up against bushes where you have to, and where you can, just stay away from the fish. You've got a fly rod, a fly line, and as long a leader as you can muster to stay away from the fish. So, but stay behind the fish where you can, and when you do have to get up close and personal, just if you can stay low and move slow, you'll get away with actually quite a lot. It's amazing how close you can actually get to a fish if you just go by those rules. And then it all happens real close, which is kind of good fun.
Yeah, I'm sure if I look back in my eyes and colour vision, eye evolution and colour vision notes, I'd be able to tell you what sort of eyes and colours that trout see. We always were told about lampreys because they're our oldest sort of evolutionary line. But I can't remember whether trouts lost all their colours or what.
Oh, yeah? Is that right?
what they were preferential for, but like you said, sounds like movement's one of their key things. So maybe
I think
maybe they lost all their cones and just see in one colour.
Maybe, yeah. And also, fish have got that lateral line and stuff like that, so they can pick up vibration and noise real easily too, especially through water.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing as well, is if you can, stay out of the water as much as you can, because that sound really travels through the water real easy. And they're pretty switched on to in tune with their environment. It's weird. You can see. I've watched fish happily sitting there, and a duck will land on their head, or a bit of a commotion going on from animals around them, and it doesn't bother them. And yet you can get a little bit close and do something what you think is quite insignificant, and they'll be gone, and they just know the difference between what's usual and what's normal, and then what's a bit sketchy, and they'll just generally leave.
So then how does wading work out?
Basically, I mean, so a lot of the time you are in the water, but like where you can, if you can stay out of the water, it will definitely help you as far as being a little bit more stealthy goes. But I mean, a lot of the time you're standing or kneeling in the edge of the river, and just in whatever position you've got to get into to get a fight of that fish. Sometimes you've got to get a bit creative. But yeah, where you can, if you can stay out of the water, you'll create a little bit less noise disturbance. You won't push any bow waves up through the pool or anything like that. And all those little things they can key onto, especially if they're educated fish. Especially if you're walking up through a shallow glide, which is real kind of glassy and there's no real current line or anything like that. If you push a big bow wave up there by not being careful and picking your way up the edge, that bow wave will run the whole length of that glide, and easily spook fish doing that. Seen it many times.
Yeah.
So then go back to stealth mode.
Awesome. So where did you mentioned you and your grandfather in the backyard? Where did fishing start for you, and what's the sort of culture around fishing in the UK versus over here?
So I started fishing when I was real young, like probably 6 years old. Do you know what coarse fishing is? We call it coarse fishing back in the UK. It's like fishing you have trout and salmon, which were game fishing, and then coarse fishing is like all the other species, like roach and tench and carp and pike and all like the other species.
Right.
They call that coarse fishing. So it's basically bait fishing with a float or a bobber, or spin fishing or that kind of thing for these other fish. So I started off doing that, and then used to fish for carp a lot as a kid, kind of scrambling around the edges looking for them, trying to get them to eat bread crusts and stuff like that on top of the water. And then I remember Granddad went out with his friend one night to a local reservoir to try it, and he came back just buzzing and was like, we got to give this a go, Alex. We've got to do this. So we went and just bought some shit gear from the local shop, and then just started flapping around in the back garden. And then everything in the UK back then was, they call it put and take fisheries. So they're stocked lakes and reservoirs. So they breed fish, stock them, and then you buy, like you and I go to fish and we buy a 4-fish ticket each. And that means that you can catch 4 fish, but you have to keep everything you catch. And once you've caught your 4 fish, you either go home or you buy another ticket. So there's no catch and release. And the reason I never fished a river till I came over here was, I don't know what it's like back now, but definitely back then it was all privately owned. All the rivers were privately owned, had private beats, and you had to have a fair bit of money to join the club and fish that river for a year. So I'd never fished a river till I came here. So it was all still water stuff. And then when I came over here, just couldn't believe that you could buy a license and then just fish anywhere. It's basically the reason I stayed. Yeah. It's the reason I never went back. I just couldn't get my head around it. So, I kind of came from that kind of scene. Still water, stocked fish, big long casts and stripping like streamers and stuff and that kind of thing along lake edges, and a very controlled environment. Like, there was never, you don't just go onto a river and then just go and bash your way through the bush and explore and, see what you find.
Yeah.
That'll probably get you shot or something like that. So yeah, it was a very, very different world that I came over here from. And then just this is, once I got here, I was like, oh, sweet, this is it. This is where I'm going to live.
Absolutely.
And just, and then just had to learn how to fish rivers. So that was kind of a whole nother, branch of fishing that I'd never done before. So it was interesting. It was cool.
Epic. So you said it's like being a 12-year-old all the time. Is that why it's just so I don't know, inspiring, and why, like you say, you don't earn quite so much money, but you set aside those 3 days to just keep up the love of it?
Yeah, man. I think just like I said before, it's just a happy space. Like there's nowhere else I'd rather be. And then then you add into the mix. You can put a pack on your back and you can tramp in somewhere. You can fish for a day. Then you can set up a camp. You can make a fire. You can sit there and just fucking sleep outside. It's just what I used to do as a kid, but in the back garden. So it's the same stuff. It's just so much fun. And I think if you can keep just keep doing shit you like to do, whether it's hunting or fishing or I don't know, tinkering with your car, I don't know, whatever your happy space is, just do it heaps.
Yeah, finding your joy, it's pretty special.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So what's the season, and what has this lockdown done to you?
Oh yeah. So the season. So when I say backcountry rivers, I mean pretty much everything outside of the Taupo area. Yeah. So you have around Taupo, all the rivers that run into Lake Taupo, they come under a Taupo license, which is a separate license from the fish and game license that you need to fish the rest of the country. Now, the rest of the country, those rivers shut down from the end of April to the beginning of October. For the most part, there's a few that stay open a bit later, but end of April to the beginning of October, and then just lets the fish have a break, spawn, do their thing without getting hassled. But the rivers that run into Taupo, they stay open all year. So then what you get then is you get all the rainbows that push up into the local rivers to do their spawning runs. You can fish for them all year.
Right.
So you can fish this area all year. But the rest of the country pretty much shuts down to give the fish a rest during those winter months. So that's cool, because it means that I can fish all year here. You just adapt your technique slightly. You'll see a few more people, but you can still go out and have a fish, which is cool. And then as far as this shutdown thing, it pretty much it'll be the same for every guide in New Zealand for sure. It pretty much just meant our season ended about 6 weeks early.
Yeah. All
the bookings we had for between like now and the end of April, they just all went. And I'm pretty sure everyone's in the same boat. Anyone that guides, most of our work comes from overseas anglers. Not many Kiwis get guides as a rule for whatever reason. So it just basically meant that that last month, just nothing.
Yeah.
Everything got cancelled, and everyone stopped travelling, and all those trips got just cancelled. Really.
Cancelled. Yeah.
So a bit of a bummer, because it just makes winter a little bit leaner. But, hey man, it is what it is. It is. Yeah. I mean, hopefully we can get this month out of the way, and then we'll be allowed to at least go out and fish on our own again, which would be really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting times, eh? Like everyone's pretty much in our space anyways, in the same boat. I'm sure it's the same for hunting guides and everything.
Yeah.
Everyone's all of a sudden taking a big kick in the nuts from this, but it is what it is. I mean, it's pretty cool what the government's doing with the subsidy thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's I was lucky enough to be eligible for that, so that's going to definitely take some pressure off. And then I guess I'll see what happens after this month of lockdown. But maybe could pick up some PT clients for the winter, and just trickle on through, see what happens.
Absolutely, mate. So typically, what was happening? So you were saying about hunting guides. I was talking to a bloke down the coast there, Oliver Walker, Cudby Walker, Te Awaiti guiding. He sort of semi-free range. Hunts mostly red stag, you're saying, the odd fellow bucket, and some pigs around, and he's got a nice bit of coastline for crayfish and powers.
Is that West Coast, is it?
East Coast, not Wairarapa sort of way. He was sort of saying
okay, yep.
he had four clients a day sort of thing. And again, going back to his place, Matt Watson, ITM Fishing.
Oh yeah,
Been there before with his son. Yeah, so if you ever see that episode, that's his block. But yeah, what's typical for fishing guys? You sort of said half days, full days. How many clients would be on that?
Yeah, generally, I mean, you do half days or full days, but generally be a full, at least full days, and then I won't take any more than 2 clients at a time for a couple of reasons. One is safety. Yeah. If you start taking, you've got more than 2 people on the river at any one time, it's kind of hard. You get spread out a little bit, and just by the very nature of our fishing, it's hard to go, especially if you go backcountry. It's generally one person up at a time. You cruise along the river, you get to a piece of water, and then you can get, okay, Ryan, you're fishing this pool, bro, and then next I'll fish, and then next pool you fish, and then the next bit of water I'll fish, and just you kind of rotate through it like that. Mm-hmm. So you can fish 2 people quite well, but then more than that, it gets a bit, there's a long time between people fishing, and also even if you go into a bigger river, say go to the Tongariro and you get on a big pool and you spread people out, like I said before, I like to spend time with people so you can actually teach them something. You get spread real thin if you're trying to bounce between 3 people. You're going down there and old mate's got a tangle, so you untangle him, you get him sorted, get him fishing, then you run back. He's got a tangle as well, I'll untangle him, sort that out. Oh, hang on, I'll be there in a minute. And you spend your time running between people and not actually spending any time with them. And I don't like that. Yeah. So I'll cap it at 2 people, and then if people want to fish more than that, I'll just get another guide in, and we'll split them between us and just fish it that way. And then that way, people actually get some time, one-on-one time with us, which is, I think, important. So generally, 1 person, maximum of 2 people. And then just depending, you get everything from, somebody wants to come through and just give it a go and see what it's all about, to people that are coming here specifically to fish for 2 weeks, and they want to get a guide at the beginning of their trip to kind of work out how to fish our rivers, and before they go on and kind of spend the rest of the month fishing themselves, that kind of thing. So a range of people. And then some people come back year after year. You've got return clients that come back, and it's their annual gig. They come back and I'm like, cool, man, we're going to fish, go here, do this, do something different this time. And that's the kind of cool thing about it. You can put together whatever trip they want to do, depending on whatever they want to do and how much money they want to spend. They want to fly into the hills for a week and do something. Shit, we can do that. You want to go on a rafting trip? We can do that. You want to do a day trip? Yeah, we can do that. Awesome. You can pretty much put together one. It's good fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you ever utilise the choppers? Who do you fly with down there?
I do a bit with in-flight. Toby at in-flight, he's a really good guy. And then I know a lot of the lodges use heli seeker, that sort of thing. Yeah. But I like Toby at in-flight. He's got a stew. He's been around for a long time, back from the old deer days. So he's got some time under his belt, which is pretty cool. And he's a good guy. And so I tend to use him.
Yeah, I used to play rugby with the son of Heli Seeker.
Oh yeah,
yeah. No, they're another team that's I saw East Coworkers closed down at the start of the week, and obviously everyone now is closed down. In terms of spots, is it like public park, or like you say, there's lodges, and do the chopper pilots sort of have private rivers that you can go to, or do you guys have private rivers?
Yeah, there's definitely a fair bit of land that's privately owned that is tied up with either guides or helicopter companies, so they're the only ones they'll let in there. Yeah. But there's also plenty of public access. Like pretty much all the stuff I fish is public access. Either over dockland or fishing game access points, that kind of stuff. There's plenty of it around. So you just gotta, and that's the other fun thing about fishing is that just going and finding new places. Just put some time in, look on a map, that looks pretty cool, go over there, get your feet on the ground and go and have a look. Sometimes it's a bust. Other times you find a really cool river that you didn't know about before, and always look for new places and new access and that kind of stuff. There's so much water here, man. Like you can't fish it all. It's just too much.
Yeah.
It's spoiled for choice.
Absolutely. As a concept, like as I was saying about the clarification of our game animals, they're not really classed as game animals, they're classed as pests. What's sort of involved from the fishing model, like the international licensing, is that the same? And then you guys as guides, who are you sort of paying levies to and stuff like that?
So as far as just general fishing licenses, you've got a resident and a non-resident license you can buy, or you have to buy.
Yeah.
And I think the non-resident license is slightly more expensive than the resident license, but it's still pretty reasonable. I couldn't even tell you what it is, to be honest. And then as far as guiding goes, so I'm a member of the New Zealand Professional Guides Association, and basically under the umbrella of that, it covers your dock concessions, your third-party insurance, or your safety SOPs and everything like that. It's all kind of locked with them.
Yeah.
So it kind of, you don't have to be a part of that, but you can do it yourself. But you have to have your dock concessions to guide on dockland, and you have to have your SOPs in place, and your health and safety, and your third-party insurance and all that stuff. So you can do that on your own, or you can just kind of do it under the umbrella of the Guides Association. And then, first aid certificate and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, you have to have that to be part of the Guides Association, and I would imagine you have to have that if you're not under it. I don't really know outside. I've just been part of the association since I've been guiding anyway, so it's just easier that way for me.
Awesome.
But there's definitely it's kind of good if you don't know what you're getting when you come over here. It's kind of a good place to start. For people that are looking, you can do some googling and get some background on what you're getting when you pay some money to someone over here and go for a fish.
Yeah.
I know there's some places that were getting a lot of it in the South Island, where people were organising trips, like say in the UK, and then getting payment for it over there, and then coming across with them and air quote hosting them over here, but guiding them over here. So they were kind of coming from abroad with clients, coming over here with none of the stuff I just talked about in place, and just guiding under the radar, which was becoming a bit of a problem in the South Island the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, I guess same thing. There's some good people out there, and maybe some not so good people. I don't know who they are, though.
Yeah, I know that's one of the challenges of the hunting sector, is sort of where it gets out, how sort of free range. It's not the same type of animal, but it's still an incredible experience and an incredible trophy, and a lot of the trophy of it is in the doing. So it's going to be a challenge for the likes of SCI over the coming years. The Safari Corporation International or something like that, Safari Club International. Yeah, they're going to have to try to come up with something to protect that industry here in New Zealand, the free range guiding.
Is that a similar thing to what I was just talking about with the Guides Association? Yeah. I don't know how you police it. It's hard to do.
Well, especially that's where, like I was asking you about the model for fishing, it's probably something that if hunters are going to place value on their animals and look to manage them going forward, they need to then sort of appreciate a value and protect the guys that are doing that as a profession, because they're putting a lot on the line and using that resource and paying to use that resource. And so, and like I say, putting in the time, putting in the research, doing things like first aid and having health and safety standard operating procedures in place. And so you've got to really take your time and appreciate and remove your bias for a second and go, right, we've got to do something for this.
And I guess also having some kind of making sure that, I'm guessing it's the same with hunting guys, that they're hopefully also teaching people the right thing, like education and that sort of thing. I'm very big on, when it comes down to, how everything from just going fishing and being prepared yourself, right down to when you catch a fish, how to handle it properly. And
we were saying about with hunting guys, how they must have standard operating procedure, but also teaching people. Yeah, and I guess if that rejogs your train of thought, we'll try that.
I think I was on a bit of a ramble just about like I don't know, it'd be kind of important. I imagine, or I think certainly for fishing anyway, but like just like people passing on and educating people about the right things. You know, I know fishing, so I can talk about how to play a fish properly, how to handle it properly, how to look after it, so that minimum impact, so that fish is going to survive and it's going to carry on being healthy and thriving in its environment, and how important that is to the future of fisheries and that kind of stuff. I just the same with hunting. Thinking about herd management and what animal to take, when to take it. Making sure that they're identifying their target and they've got a clean shot before they shoot and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know hunting, but just the bits and pieces I do know. I would imagine it's super important that the people that are guiding are passing, those things on. So it goes down the line, and going forward.
Absolutely. And in terms of hunting, it's kind of like, well, the harvesting is the briefest of moments for an incredible experience, and then it's definitely not over at that point in time. Like if it is the trophy of a lifetime, preserving that, skinning it the right way so that you can mount it, and then when it comes to the meat, with a guy getting it off the hill into a larder, so that then the meat can be optimised. I shot a couple of seeker in the car workers and managed to get them back to a chiller that day and have them hang for 10 days in a chiller versus the red hind that I got 2 weeks ago, and having to take that off the hill, butcher it on the hill, and then get it straight into the freezer or just into the fridge and eat it. And it's still new. It's just a different dynamic. Like, it's still incredible, but compared to that aged meat and hung meat, it's just not, there's not the same intricacy. So that's, like I say, valuable skills, valuable knowledge, and
So I think just part and how important, just like respecting and appreciating like where what it is you're doing and where you're doing it, and making sure that in everything you do, it's all done from that place of respect, because like don't shoot that animal if it's not a clean shot, or you're not going to be able to get it off the hill, or you're not going to be able to use it all, or all that kind of stuff. I think is a big part to play.
Yeah.
And I certainly I do that with fish. Not that I keep fish, but everything I do is sort of like from the moment I see that fish to the moment I hopefully release that fish, everything is, I try and do everything to minimise my impact on that, and I treat it with a lot of respect, and I want to look after that because it's such a cool creature, and all you try to do is have your moment, and then back away, and hopefully you do everything right. That fish is going to live for years to come.
Yeah, and I guess also by being with the likes of yourself, the angler really gets an understanding for the provenance behind the area, behind the fish, behind, like you say, just those little details of the type of fish, where it came from, how it got here, what its impact is.
Fucker popper around it, is really important.
Yeah. And then, like, even when it comes to those mouse fish, like this is why and how this happens, and then it speaks to the broader ecology, not just the river, but the whole catchment. It's so wicked.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, just the whole trickle down effect, eh?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's really, really important. So yeah, I think if you've got good people teaching that, with hunting and stuff like that, I think that's key to just the future of what it is you're doing, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good practices. Yeah.
But before we got on, we spoke about sort of this bogey word, this thing that doesn't exist in the world, and it's our own mental stories and mental capabilities. I mean, we touched on it about how going into the backcountry is completely miserable, but at the same time full of ecstasy and amazement and appreciation. Mate, where do you see, fishing wise as a tool to get out beyond ourselves?
Oh, I think it's got a lot of value, eh? As an example, there's a program I do. I've been working with do you know who REAP is? Have you heard of that organisation? No. It's basically we've just been doing a program with kind of Maori men that have had, they've been in prison, or they've had some anger issues, or some trouble with the police, or ex kind of gang members and that kind of stuff, and they're in this basically rehabilitation program, and part of that is we've taken them out into the bush, and got them casting a fly rod, got them on the river, talked about all the things we've just talked about, and kind of shown them, that's basically, a lot of them have never been out into the bush and done all these sorts of things, let alone picked up a fishing rod and seen the fish and cast it and that kind of stuff. So, and like the feedback we've had from those few individuals that we've done a couple of programs with is just unreal, man. Like, they're just blown away by that whole space, and just how cool it was for them to be out there and to be amongst it and to see it. And that's a pretty good example just of how just going into that space alone is just so good to unplug and decompress and just experience something outside of the normal life. And I know for me, if I don't fish, I get pretty shitty. It's not long before Elena's telling me that I should probably go to the river for a while. So it's super important for me. I'm very big on, I like my own space, and I like to be home. So it's perfect for me. I can put it back on and go, right, sweet, I'll see you tonight, or I'll see you in a couple of days, and I'll just go out there and happy as. Yeah. And then when I come back, I'm better for it, for sure, 100%.
Wonderful, mate.
Yeah.
And I guess that speaks to your handle, Trippin on Trout.
That's right, bro. For sure. Yeah. There's a history there.
Yeah. That's not like I'm Wim Hof. Get high and supply.
That's right. Yeah. Just used to be other people's.
Yeah. Good. Mate, so it's a bit rare for Kiwis to go guiding. This might have tickled a few of their fancies, I hope. And I do reach a few Aussies and a few guys in the States. And then there's the odd person, UK, France, and Spain, funnily enough, that are taking up a couple of percentage points from the podcast. But, mate, where do people find you? What's the best avenue to track you down? Your Instagram's bloody awesome, and that's just an observer, not even a passionate fisherman. Where do people find it?
Yeah, I guess the usual, man. Instagram, YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel. I think I'm on Facebook too, but I don't spend too much time on Facebook. It's just linked to Instagram.
Seems to be quite common these days.
Yeah, there's just too much bullshit on Instagram. So
on Facebook,
I spend more time on. On Facebook. So I spend more time on Instagram or YouTube or email. It's all just, if you just go Trippin on Trout, I'll pop up, or put it into any of the social media platforms. I'll pop up.
Yeah.
I'll be there. And even if people are just kind of interested in planning a trip and want some local knowledge, man, I've got some time next month, so hit me up, chuck some questions at me.
Yeah, I'll have it in the show notes. So people just be able to, in whatever they're app in it, with the show shops up. If you scroll down a little bit, there'll be a bunch of links, and we'll have Alex's links there. Man, this has been a fantastic chat, and I knew it would be. You were on my radar ever since Pete Evans. I talked to him, so that was like I say 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Pete.
yeah, absolutely. So it just a lot of time on our hands. It was like, hey, let's do it. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, time to do it. Oh, cool, man. That's awesome. It's been good fun hanging out. And if we ever come out of isolation and you want to come down and have a fish over winter, man, just let me know.
come over the hill.
We could do a follow-up podcast on how you find fishing.
Yeah, fly fishing. Mate, what would you leave people with? I sort of frame it as something that doesn't do you wrong or something that seems to show up, or a quote that sort of leads you in your life. You already dropped the knowledge bomb from your grandma about 2 ears, 1 mouth. What's something that doesn't do you wrong or shows up?
I think just don't be a dick. Basically. It pretty much applies to everything, eh? Just don't be a dick. And then everything else just fall into place.
Awesome, mate. You've become a Kiwi. If you were an Aussie, you'd say, don't be a C-U-N-T.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to drop the C-bomb. It's not my podcast, so I thought I'd drop that. Don't be a dick. It falls off the tongue.
The alternative to the PC version is don't be a dick.
Don't be an egg, bro.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So,
cool, man.
I'll get this out, and I hope people enjoy it and get in touch with you. And I also would love to hear people's feedback now that they've got a lot of time. And that little break we had, I just looked at my Instagram and there's messages for days. So it'd be awesome to have a chat about fishing with people that know a lot more than I do, which is not hard.
Oh, man. Well, fucking keep up the good work, man.
Cheers, brother. Have a good one.
All good. Yeah, cool, man. Talk to you soon.
Too easy. As I said, he's become a Kiwi. Don't be a dick. I like that. It's a pretty simple way to live your life. Old mate Clay Adam shared a cracker post today on Instagram. It was a very Kiwiised statement from Jacinda Ardern going along the lines. We've been getting these emergency alert text messages over here, and they Kiwiised a statement from the Prime Minister. It was absolutely crack up. Hoping to get Clay and Khan individually onto the Stag Raw this lockdown period. Particularly Clay, I've been pushing him for a while. He can tell us all we need to know about satellites and sending rockets into space and why he bothers chasing his brother around the mountains. Also hear about the unfortunate side of COVID-19 in the middle of the wilderness. I think Clay was chasing moose, meanwhile Khan was chasing wapiti. I'll let them tell the story. Put a bit of pressure on them, folks. It'd be good to get those two on. I'm sure they're not up to much. I mean, who's doing anything right now? Of course, the Stag was brought to you by Waikato, WAIKET0, provennow.com, BRUBITNOW.com. That's for exogenous ketones. Shit knows if I'll get to you in any good time at the moment. Gosh knows what's happening with postage. I ordered some dog and gun coffee on Wednesday before things got locked down. Don't know if Jacinda will let those come through out to rural delivery. Same with a few arrows and broadheads and small game boards from Advanced Archeries. Ordered them on Wednesday. Be interesting to see if they show up. Some binos from Vortex, see if they come through. No, it doesn't really matter, does it? This soon shall pass. But yeah, if you're looking for a bit of a help to explore low carb or ketogenic lifestyles, prove it is the answer. Exogenous ketones help you become fat adapted faster, get you in ketosis in under half an hour. Tools like keto creamer for boosting your fat content with your coffees, keto broth, keto protein even, so you can stay satiated and keep those fats high when you're supplementing after a good gym session. Yeah, so that website's WAIKET0.PRUBITNOW.com, and of course the links in the show notes, as is Alex's links, my links. Love to hear from you. Been having such awesome chats on the gram. What a tool. What a tool. Shame their owners, Facebook, can't sort that place out. Gosh, talk about overload. Stay away from that. And yeah, like I said at the start, don't dive too deep into the internet. And if you are, do it with a laugh, because, wow, there's some awesome theories out there. You know, could be right. Who knows? It's a crazy world we live in. stay safe out there. Stay home. Stay isolated. Look after the people that you're around. And yeah, reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Hope you enjoyed this. As I said, we'll be catching and releasing plenty of podcasts over this 4-week lockdown in between chores here on the farm. Bloody good. Have a good one. Stay safe.